Okay, so what if I told you that a nation's most sacred stories, the ones about gods and heroes, weren't actually about divinity at all? What if they were really about a centuries-long political struggle? Well, today on The Explainer, we're diving headfirst into the really controversial Indian film Teesri Azadi, which means the third freedom, to break down its pretty provocative argument. And, this one question is what the entire film is built around answering. It all leads up to this. So let's get into it and explore the powerful and, pretty controversial story it has to tell. All right, so the film kicks things off by pointing to what it sees as India's central, most fundamental problem, a society that it claims was intentionally broken apart, fractured into thousands of different castes. Now, here's the thing. According to the film's narrative, this caste system wasn't something that just grew organically in India. Nope. It argues this whole structure was actually imposed by foreign invaders, the Aryans, on the land's original inhabitants, who the film calls the Mūlnivāsīs. So the film paints this really stark picture, a real before and after. On one hand, you have this supposed golden age of the native Indus Valley civilization. Prosperous, everyone's equal. And then, bam, the film shows the hierarchical system it claims the Aryans brought in, a system that it says basically turned those original inhabitants into an enslaved class.
Okay, so you might be asking, how was this control maintained for so long? Well, this is where the film makes its most controversial argument, and you're going to want to hear this. It reinterprets well-known Hindu mythology not as religion, but as a powerful political tool. So it takes a look at the 10 avatars of Vishnu, these divine figures believed to have saved humanity, and it asks a pretty fundamental question. And then it just completely flips the script with its own radically different interpretation. So in this telling, these sacred stories, they're not divine history, not at all. The film's argument is that they were actually political propaganda, cleverly designed to make it seem okay to defeat and subjugate the native Mūlnivāsī kings. Let's break this down with a key example they use, the Vamana avatar, right? So the traditional story is all about divine humility, but the film, it frames it as a really clever political trick pulled on a popular native king who is just too powerful to be beaten in a straight-up fight. And this really gets to the heart of the film's whole argument. It claims that the 3 paces of land asked for weren't literal footsteps. Nope, it was a metaphor for a strategic takeover of the 3 main pillars of power in society. Think about it. By getting control over education, business, and security, the film argues that the Aryans made King Bali completely powerless, all without ever having to fight a single battle. It was basically, as the film presents it, a political coup dressed up as a divine request. So, of course, people didn't just accept this, right? The film then turns its attention to those who actually resisted this new order. It highlights figures from both myth and history who, in this telling, were punished and punished severely for daring to challenge the system. And to really drive this point home, to show how violently this caste system was enforced, the narrative brings up the story of Shambuka from the epic Ramayana. Now, according to the film's interpretation, Shambuka's crime wasn't that he actually hurt anyone. Not at all. His big offense was simply that he was seeking knowledge and spiritual growth, something that totally violated the strict caste hierarchy. So his execution is presented as this brutal public warning. Don't you dare cross these lines. And it doesn't stop there. The film brings up another really powerful example, the story of the tribal archer, Ekalavya, from the other great epic, the Mahabharata. The film argues that this was the exact rule that the royal guru, Dronacharya, used to shut him down, to deny him instruction. Why? Simply because Ekalavya was a tribal boy, not from the kshatriya or the warrior caste. So from this point of view, when the Guru Drona demands Ekalavya's thumb as his fee, that's not some kind of rightful payment to a teacher. No way. It's framed as a cold, calculated plot to literally surgically remove a competitor from the field, all to make sure the Kshatriya prince Arjuna would remain number 1. But even with all this suppression, the film makes it clear that people didn't just give up. It then lays out this long, long history of resistance against what it calls the Brahmanical system. And this timeline is really meant to show that the fight back was constant. It never really stopped. The film draws this amazing, unbroken line from ancient figures like the Buddha,
who just flat out rejected the caste system. It moves through medieval saints, 19th century pioneers, and brings it all the way into the modern era with social reformers like Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, who was the main architect of India's constitution. And all of this entire historical narrative, brings us to the film's ultimate conclusion. It brings us back to that central question: what is the third freedom? And here it is. Here's the film's answer. It defines Teesri Azadi as the third and final step. The argument goes like this. The first freedom, getting independence from the British in 1947, great. The second freedom, getting legal equality in the Constitution, also great. But it says they're incomplete. The final true freedom, according to this film, has to be a full-blown social and political revolution.
And this number right here, it's absolutely key to their entire argument. 85%. That's the number the film uses to represent the Mūlnivāsī or Bahujan, basically the huge majority of the population, who it claims have been shut out from real power for centuries, even though they have the numbers on their side.
So the film doesn't just leave it there. It wraps up with a very clear 3-step call to action for anyone watching. Step 1, organize that 85% majority. Step 2, struggle for and win political power. And step 3, use that power to completely dismantle the caste system for good. So really, when you boil it all down, the film's core message is this: having laws on the books that guarantee equality is one thing, but those laws don't mean much without a fundamental shift in who's actually holding the levers of power in society. So there you have it. We've just walked through the core narrative of Teesri Azadi, and what it really does is leave us with this powerful idea to think about: that history isn't just a set of facts, it's a story. And who tells that story and how it's told can completely change how a nation sees its past, understands its present, and imagines its future.